Well, so today is Monday, so you want to know what that means? That means today it is time for a garden tour. Yes, a brand new garden tour every single Monday. So like and subscribe if you want to see more of that stuff. But let's get into what our large space garden is looking like. And I'm going to go get the ATV and I'm going to go up to the field and show you what our corn patch is looking like. So let's get into it. So whoever was last in the garden clearly didn't really do a good job shutting this door. So I'm just going to open it up. Well, I mean, the raccoon couldn't probably get in through that because that... What did I just do there, bro? This is also not really in the best position. Good old cinder blocks. I'm guessing they're probably like 15, 20 pounds. They're not that heavy. I've lifted more than that. So let's go over to here. We have some strawberries to speak of. Sadly, 0 this year. 0. I don't know why. And I'm going to blame it on the local robin population. So, curse on you, robins. No, I'm joking. But like, seriously, why do you keep stealing my strawberries? I want to know. I'm not mad. I just want to know, bro. Like, I get you want to get yourself some food, bro. I mean, you do you, but like, stay out of the garden. Go to someone else's. I don't care. However, we do have some strawberries blooming at least, and for July, it's not that bad actually. And for our blueberry patch, same deal. We have tons of them that are almost ready. The only issue, however, here is that these aren't going to be ready for like at least 2 or 3 more days. But do you see these? These are stalks where the blueberries would be. However, the bird population is getting in here and destroying it. And worst of all, there's also bug populations that are getting in here and annihilating my poor little blueberries, bro. So I don't like the bugs. I'm fine with the birds because when I was in like 4th grade or whatever, I was like the biggest bird enthusiast, bro. I had all the books of birds, just all the reference books right next to my bed. After the red-tailed hawk incident in 2020, I'm not really the biggest fan of birds anymore, except for chickadees. And yes, this right here is the plant where those caterpillars got in back on the June 28th garden tour and annihilated that poor little plant. And this plant has some blueberries on it, despite its tiny little size of about, I'd say, 7 or 8 inches. Let's get into the big garden, which doesn't have a door. That's poorly designed. Let's start over here. Let's cut this simple. Half of them are blueberries, wow. We have green beans over here, though. They're noticeable by their nice and pinkish purple flower appearance. I don't know what color they actually are. It's more like bluish purple, to be honest. It's not pinkish purple, but like, it's cool. And you can kind of see where the green beans will be growing otherwise. But right now, there really isn't anything to speak of just yet. However, these are the ones I planted back in June, so it's a little bit late for them. So it's a little bit late. However, they're still blooming pretty quickly. Like, usually green beans take a little bit longer than this to get a harvest, but I feel like every time we grow green beans, they always produce a little bit earlier. Before we move into the pepper patch, I figured I'd show you these guys. These are our little basil plants, which look like they've so far survived the 2nd day of being transplanted out into the garden. There is some leaves that do look like they're not doing the greatest, but I think these guys can survive because we just transplanted them the other day. And as you can see, they are transplanted into the ground. They do have the fertilizer that they need. So let's get into our peppers. And these guys are looking pretty impressive too. You can see these are our jalapeno peppers growing right here. And you can see another example right there. These guys are getting pretty big too. Look at that. Another one there. And these ones are smaller. But over here, we have some jalapenos that look like they're going to be ready for development soon. This right here might actually be almost ready. Just a little bit of development still needs to unfold. These guys are a little bit bigger, and that one is going to be our first big jalapeno. I already did harvest one tiny little jalapeno pepper the other night, which I posted a short about, which got like 400 views. Y'all can check that out if you want to. Right over here, some more peppers, of course. And this one got a little bit knocked to the side because of a recent thunderstorm. I mean, we did have a thunderstorm with a little bit of some gusty winds today, but it wasn't that bad. So let's get into the rest of the garden. And sadly, it looks like our plants are planted here didn't come up. Well, not yet at least, but I planted them last week. There's still some hope. Now the zucchini and eggplants are doing pretty changeably, I'd say. We have some ones that look like they're going to be ready for harvest soon, and others that just don't have any flowers on them, and others are just being overshadowed by weeds. So I can't rip those guys out because it would damage the roots of this plant, which is one thing I really hate about weeds in gardening, because some of them you can't even rip out because of the fact they'll literally damage the roots. And for whatever reason, these guys don't look too happy. It looks like something had gotten to them previously. I don't know what had gotten to, maybe a squirrel. I don't like the squirrels, to be honest. I'm really just looking for anything to blame them for, to be honest, at this point, because I wasn't already the biggest fan of the squirrels, but now I'm an even less fan of the squirrels. However, we do have some white eggplants coming in pretty nicely over here, though. You can see some nice white eggplants over here. The rest of these guys just don't seem to be doing too well. I feel like they're not doing as great as they could possibly be doing right now. And there's also weeds trying to overshadow them. So the greatest thing you do is just knock them over a little bit. Keep them from getting to the big plant. So that way you can keep this out of your reach. Now let's go into our trellis. Now right in here we have some plants that might be ready for harvest. Multiple of them. I might actually go in here in a minute and do a little harvest. You guys saw those cucumbers I harvested the other night, right? They were pretty impressive, to be honest, especially for the fact that usually they die at the second week we put them in the garden. And I feel like we never get a really good harvest out of them. But this year, it's July and we're getting some pretty good harvests. So I'd say we're doing pretty good. And I also think it's cool to note that we also planted these little basils right over here, these little homies over here. They're in the ground now, so they're cool, they're chill. Congratulations for surviving the transplant. And you can also see the cherry tomatoes coming in over here, but also the random good old 4th of July tomatoes just randomly there. And there's also some good old ones ready for harvest and ones that the fruit flies have gotten to. I have personal beef with those fruit flies. I don't know why, I just don't like them. Like literally, they're so annoying. When they're in their house, they get to your apples and stuff like that. They get to your bananas. You're not too big a fan of that, right? But when they're in the garden, they destroy some of your fruit too. So it's really annoying. Now, if you're brand new here and haven't seen this, you could already much agree that we're pretty big tomato people over here on the farm. And yes, we have some little tomato plants right there. I don't know why those guys were transplanted there, because we ran out of room when we were doing the transplant last week. Now right over here though, we do have some new tomatoes in here. As you can see, these guys are a little bit younger. We planted these guys back in June. And also, for whatever reason, there's a good old-fashioned zucchini. It looks like it's trying to get ripped out of the ground. I don't know why it was there, to be honest. It's a little anomaly in the garden. But it happens sometimes. You get random stuff in the middle of random things. But I guess that's cool. However, what's even more cool is that these guys are changing colors pretty fast. So we're going to be seeing a harvest probably sometime in the next week or two with a lot of these Romas. We have Romas, beefsteaks, and 4th of Julys. Romas are the greatest because I like having pizza. I make pizza at home. So when I make the pizza at home, I'll oftentimes get the spoon out and get some tomato sauce and run it around the edges of the pizza. And Romas help you make tomato sauce. And beefsteaks and 4th of Julys are really good for tomato sandwiches, or if you're gonna add tomatoes to your burger. Sadly, we don't have onions yet. I really wanna grow some onions. And this here, our sweet potatoes didn't make it. We ordered them and they never made it. So yeah, that was sad. I mean, maybe we could stop by like a farm or something like that and pick them up, but like, I'm not too big of a fan of that. But the cool thing over here is that we do have some sunflowers. Maybe not a lot, maybe just a couple, but there are some sunflowers to speak of. Like this little guy right here who's trying absolutely his hardest to stay in the game. That's not a sunflower, I'm pretty sure. That is not a sunflower. And it looks like this is our only sunflower, for real. I don't know why our sunflowers keep getting overshadowed by these guys, but those guys won't be getting overshadowed for too much longer, because the weed whacker though, that will put a nice dent in their population. Now what I'm about to do is I'm about to go walk up to the field, because I see that the ATV is locked away for the night. I forgot that little thunderstorm over here. So let me go up to the field right now. I'm gonna put on a pair of boots because I'm wearing Crocs right now. And we're gonna go up to the field. I think it's also pretty cool to briefly notice these good old hydrangeas over here. Sorry if you hear that sound in the background. That's the good old AC unit doing what it needs to do. It was 94 degrees earlier today. It's gonna be 96 tomorrow. So it works like it should. And you can see our beautiful hydrangeas over here. Now let's get into the field like I promised we would. I wonder if they put fertilizer, aka crack for plants, and that's a joke, in the rainwater here, because look at this. This isn't cow corn, by the way, guys. This right here is completely normal sweet corn. I want to say that again. This is not the corn you see growing on the side of the streets in like Iowa or whatever. That's cow corn for the most part. This is sweet corn, people corn. This is the corn that you'll buy at the store. They're tasseling. Do you see this? And there's a lot more than I expected. And if you look right here, you can even see this is forming. This is going to be the corn cob soon. And this one is actually developing pretty nicely. Once you see a brown one, however, that right there is when you know for a fact that the corn is completely ready for harvest. One thing I do notice is that these little imposters are here though. These guys are not corn, because these guys aren't tasseling like that. This isn't a big patch like the ones you see on the side of the road when you're driving to like the Midwest or the Upper Plains, or even just a rural town in like Connecticut or whatever. Like if you drive out to the Northwest Hills and you drive on like either like Route 44 or Route 7 or 41, then you're most likely to see a lot of cornfields when you're driving out there. I also forgot to mention the smaller stuff down here, like these mint plants here that are really good. If I was doing that, I think it's the outdoor tea challenge or whatever, I wish I had more plants to be able to do that with. So shout out T-Nog for that. I'll be watching all the videos that that the little challenge is hosted, but sadly I can't do it myself. But over here, we do have some strawberries. We have to sell them soon because these guys are just taking up space over here. And these little sumac knocked down by the thunderstorm that we had today. Well, not today, but recently there was a couple sumac that was knocked down today. In the chicken yard, however, that tree across the street was already down, but like it got a little bit further down today after the thunderstorm. Let's do a harvest. All right, so we're beginning to look and see what we have. We need to harvest the biggest things first and then the smallest things on top because we don't want the smaller ones to get absolutely annihilated. And by the way, I got the greatest tool of all time for this. I don't have whatever I usually use. I have scissors. I know, so anticlimactic. All right, so I'd say we got some pretty accomplished stuff in the garden tour today. So yeah, if you want to see some more gardening videos, be sure to click the playlist on the screen right now, which is all the gardening videos from March until now. And they will compile all the videos until the fall garden comes around. Well, this year I want to get a hydroponic system to test it out. But always, before we leave the garden, we have the proper etiquette by shutting the door to make sure that the raccoon stays out of here at all costs. Anyways, I will see you in the next one, guys. Subscribe.